government, which is the capitalist theory of two levels of adultery and the capitalist theory of legality to illegality, will first deal with the opening opposition's case. I don't think any of these two, especially the first one, has ever used a condom, and it's read what's written on it. It itself reads that condom does not guarantee 100% pregnancy. So therefore, there's always a chance that all the contraceptives they have been talking about, let me bash that first. Firstly, you have condom as a contraceptive, which doesn't give you 100% guarantee that the woman will not become pregnant. Secondly, you talk about eye pills, which are a very emergency pill, and there are side effects of eye pills, and the woman might not be pregnant again if she's taking it frequently. So therefore, the contraceptive theory that they came up with completely falls flat on their face. Now next comes the question of responsibility, which is the entire idea of the opening opposition, right? So why do we think that a father needs to be either a university graduate or needs to have a full-time job in order to become a father? We say state doesn't simply allow it because state will not take the burden if a child comes up with a lower standard of living. If a parents are not capable of bringing or growing up the child, I think the parents at the first place do not have the right to give birth to the child. Because at the end of the day, what you do is you result in giving birth to a child who at the end of the day will probably grow up with a very low standard of living and probably be a burden on the government as well. Said, not taken. We believe responsibility lies on two levels. Firstly is a mental maturity, and secondly on the financial capability, Mr. Speaker. Or what mental maturity does is that automatically is covered by the motion when we say tertiary education. When we say that the person is going to university, when he goes to university, he turns from a boy to a man. When he turns from a boy to a man, he automatically learns to deal with practical work, he automatically learns parenthood, and he knows how to take care of the child. But if you compare that to someone who is underage, who is 18 or 7, I mean still rebutting opposition. When someone is below 25 or below 18, he probably does not have the same level of emotional understanding, but he doesn't know how to grow up a child. Next comes the financial capability, which I think is also important. As Tushabhai already pointed out, you need to fulfill the basic needs after you give birth to a SIT. You need to fulfill the basic needs after you give birth to a child. It's just not randomly you bang a woman, she becomes pregnant, you give birth to a child, and then you say, okay, I don't have money, and I don't know how to bring up the child, so okay, let it be the burden of the government. We say exactly this is where the government has a problem. Sit, not taken. So therefore, Mr. Speaker, moving on to the other argument that she said, coming from the opening opposition, is about how India has revolutionized as far as population control is concerned. Let me tell you, the underage pregnancy rate of India has not gone down in the last 10 years. This is what your contraceptives have completely failed in doing. Secondly, she talked about artificial insemination. This is very important, right? Artificial insemination itself is a very expensive process. And women who can afford artificial insemination can afford to bring up the child because she has money. This is exactly the point we are making. Honourable Speaker, the arguments, the extension coming from the lower house of the government, I'll take later, is the calculus theory of adultery level. We believe from the government side that there are two levels of adultery. One is when you become 18. And when you become 18, you know about doggy styles, you know about 69s and girl love dogs and whatsoever are not. So that is the level of understanding when you are 18. But you necessarily do not become capable of mentally understanding the emotional and physical needs of a particular child. This is why we distinct, and this is why there is a gap between someone being an adult enough to have sex and someone being adult enough to become a parent, Mr. Speaker. This is why we believe that we are closing that gap. Sit, not taken, I'll offer you. This is where we are closing the gap, Mr. Speaker. When you talk about someone being adult enough to become a parent, we say it is important for someone to understand the emotional needs and to understand how to deal with child, how to deal with a wife, and how to bring up a family. So this is why, Mr. Speaker, we say we go for this particular procedure because it closes down the gap. It closes down the gap where a child cannot become a father when he is just 18 or when he is not ready to become a father mentally or financially. Yes?
Buddy, I just want to be clarified one thing, because this has been confusing entirely the government bench. Do we just do this for all children from all income groups? So if you happen to be from the higher income group, your father left you a lot of money, you don't need to find education or a job. What do we do?
Okay, if you're representing the part of the group whose father has shipped a lot of money, then basically it is easy for that particular child to go and obtain tertiary level education because money will not be a problem, Mr. Speaker. And this is why we believe that it's also important to bring out a criteria that if my dad has a money, he'll be able to become a grandfather. No, it doesn't work that way. A father himself individually has to earn his parenthood. This is what we are advocating from government. If you have to earn this parenthood, you either have to be mentally capable or you have to be financially capable, because we are not going to risk the future of the child. Sit, not taken. Second is the calculus level of legality to illegality. This is very important because in the countries, if you are allowing child to make woman pregnant, therefore you are allowing the semen to flow inside. Therefore, you're always leaving a scope of women becoming pregnant. And this is why we say it's a double standard policy from the government. At one end, you're letting the semen flow. On the other hand, when the woman becomes pregnant, the government suddenly wakes up and says, oh, you know what? Abortion is not legalized here. So you can become pregnant and you cannot abort the child. So this is what leads to further stigma as far as social level is concerned, Mr. Speaker. We say on the social level, it's a burden for the women, it's a burden for the father, it's a burden for the entire family, Mr. Speaker. So we say socially that's wrong, because at one end, the government is allowing the woman to become pregnant. On the other hand, the government is not allowing abortion. So basically the government half-heartedly is supporting underage pregnancy, which we say is not right. We are stopping that by our model. And on the other hand, Mr. Speaker, they are not allowing abortion. We believe is principally wrong. So what have we done from this side and what have they done from this? Their side, basically their model cannot stop underage pregnancy. Their model doesn't make sure that a father will be fully capable of bringing up the child. Our model says for guarantee that if a child is born, the father has to fulfill the criteria and earn his parenthood. Therefore, the future of the child is not at risk. And secondly, from our side, we stop underage pregnancy. From our side, we have also said that how socially this will not be problematic as far as individuals are concerned.